Hello there, all of you sculptors, creators, professionals, beginners, well, everybody, and welcome to my video. Today, I am going to make a garden gnome or an elf. I am going to make a rather big one. I use stoneware clay and mostly just my hands and a few tools that I made myself. Today I'm going to show you how to make bigger sculptures in an easy way, just by using one big piece. So I start by just getting the shape I want using my hands. And as you can see, this is just a rough shape. I will refine it afterwards with my tools and my fingers. Usually when you sculpt, you have to build it in different pieces and glue them together. But this is a way you can do it. You can use one big lump of clay and start by making the sculpture you want. And what I want is a traditional gnome from Scandinavia. So that's what I'm trying to do right now. I am going to use some oxides and salt to get natural, beautiful colors to it, but that's in another video. So now I just refine the face and start making all of the details. And as you can see, I use a few tools and mostly just my fingers and my hands. I try not to use too much water on my figure, because otherwise it will get too wet and will not keep the shape because of the weight of the clay. A turntable is really good to have if you sculpt bigger things, so then you can turn it around and look at your sculpture from all the different angles all the time. When I start making the hair and the beard, I first of all use a bigger stick, and then I go and start using a smaller one. It's not really important that I get everything right now, because I am going to cut this gnome into 2 different pieces and then glue them together again. This way I can make it hollow, so the shape might change a little bit. Sculpting the face is actually not that easy, but you can train, and well, if something goes wrong, you can always just put a little bit more clay or remove some clay and then do it again. It's just clay. As you can see, it's fall here in Finland. It's September, and the birds are up in the trees eating my cherries. And well, it's getting kind of cold, so this is probably the last video I can make in my greenhouse before the winter comes. I like the wooden stick better than the needle tool, and especially when it's made of wood, it feels really nice. As you can see, so far I haven't attached any more clay. It's all made of one piece. And remember, if you want to attach something, you always need to slip and score, so that it really sticks. Otherwise it might just fall off in the kiln when you burn it. I want to get my gnome a little bit drier on the outside before I cut it into pieces. This way it will keep the shape. Now, here is the important and kind of scary thing. Just cut right through. And then I have to remove the pieces from each other. I use 2 bags of polystyrene and just lay one of the pieces there so it will keep its shape. Now the outside of my gnome is kind of dry, but as you can see, the inside is really, really wet still. Because this is such a big piece, I need to make it hollow on the inside. And of course make some ventilation holes so that it will actually hold the firing in the kiln. So I remove a lot of extra clay from the inside. And of course you need to be really careful and feel from the outside with your other hand that you don't remove too much. I also try to remove from the same places on both of the halves, so when I put them together it will be hollow on the same space. Now the back is not as thick as the front side, so I have to be really careful and not remove too much on this side. When I'm done, I have to put some slip on one of the sides. And you see, I did not cut all the way through. I left a little bit on the bottom. And I also put slip on the bottom. So now, the critical point. I have to put them on the same place and just hope that the shape still is just as it was before I cut it. And yes, it fits perfectly. Now, it's really good to have a thread when you cut. And remember, a hair dryer could be also good to dry the surface of your sculpture. When I've placed the pieces together, I start using a tool again to smoothen out the edges. And it's of course important that you get it to really, really stick good. So remember, you have to put some slip on before. Afterwards, I use a little bit of water and my fingers. And on the harder places, I use a smaller tool to get really great results. As you probably noticed, I did only work on the upper body until now. And that's because the weight of the clay just needed to be supported for a while. So I let my gnome dry for 2 hours, and now I start working on the legs and the feet. First by using a tool, and then to round up the shape a little bit just by using my fingers and a little bit of water, not much. There is one really important thing that I forgot, and that is, it's hollow on the inside, but I don't have a ventilation hole to the outside. So if I would let this one dry now and then put it in the kiln, it would just blow up. I need a ventilation hole. So I will stick that from underneath the feet right in through his stomach to get the ventilation. Now I'm just going to make a pair of shoes for my gnome. So after that, I think I'm almost done. I will now leave it to dry for a few hours and then do the final adjustments. After that, It's time to let it dry, bisque fire it, glaze it, and then put it in a stoneware kiln. I'm really happy that you found my video, and I hope you enjoyed it too. I enjoyed making this gnome anyway. If you like my videos, please remember to come back to my channel and subscribe. I will put up a new video when I'm burning my gnome, so you can see the final result. Thanks for watching.